what you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. Jane Goodall. Another quote for you. Whether through words, music, or brushstrokes, the power to connect and influence comes from understanding others and from the courage to see the world through many lenses. My guest in this episode of Passing the Torch has served nearly 25 years in the United States Army. She is also a fellow with the Honor Foundation, a program that helps U.S. Special Operations Forces transition to civilian careers by providing executive education, coaching, and networking opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome wife, mother, volunteer, soldier, and advocate for vulnerable populations in her community. Passing the Torch with Toni Lavery starts now. First and foremost, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for all the effort on the introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. How was that intro? Because we were talking about it before we started recording. That's what I could find.
Yeah, sorry. So I have to update one thing, just the Honor Foundation. I'm no longer a fellow. I finished that program actually, and I'm now actively seeking what's next. So I know you probably got that from LinkedIn, so I need to change that.
Yeah, I did get it from
Sorry.
LinkedIn. Before we get more importantly, before we get started, I just want to tell you, I've done over 100 episodes of my podcast. By far, you have the best hair of anyone I've ever had. On my a little inside joke.
Thanks. I have brushed it today. If you can't tell, well, that's a little bit. I pulled it back, but yes, thank you for noticing. I appreciate that.
No, just a little back and forth between LinkedIn, and actually, I got a haircut, so I was like, maybe.
Looks good.
I appreciate that.
Birthday haircut there.
That's right. Yeah, birthday. That's right. It's and it's funny. So I told you I just retired, and I've had everyone ask me like, "Are you going to grow your hair out?" I'm like, I like this look. It's the look out. Even before I joined the Air Force, this is the haircut that I had, just because it's what works for me.
Yeah, it looks good. I like it.
Appreciate it. Before we dive into questions and all that, I have to ask you. You're from Milwaukee, is that right?
I sure am. Milltown.
You said, what was it called?
Milltown.
Of course,
yeah.
Right? So I have a friend who's from Milwaukee, and I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to have someone on my show. They're from Milwaukee. I said, what's something from Milwaukee that I could ask that only people from there would know? Here's the question. All right.
Okay.
And I have no idea anything about this. I'm guessing what it is, but I never heard of it. So here we go. Do you think the bronze Fonz deserves a better spot, or is he perfect where he is?
Oh my God. I don't remember where I think he's on the along the Milwaukee River, if I'm not mistaken. I think downtown. And if that's where he is, that's a perfect spot for him.
Okay.
If it's not, then maybe I need to do a little bit more research on where I'm from, because I don't think I remember where he is, but I think he's on the Milwaukee River downtown somewhere.
Oh, it sounds like a good spot.
Yeah. Where'd your friend go to high school? Do you know where your friend went to high school from Milwaukee?
No, I don't.
Probably.
I don't.
Okay.
But I do know his dad used to work for the Milwaukee Bucks and or did security. So as a kid, he would always go to the Bucks games, and then after the games, he'd get to go on the court and shoot around with some of the players and stuff if they were hanging out. And
that's totally cool.
Yeah. But more importantly, why is life great right now?
Life is awesome right now because, most importantly, well, besides me, everyone's happy and healthy. And I don't mean I'm not happy. I just mean I've had like a series of unfortunate injuries back to back that put me in the ER, and I'm waiting for a series. I had two, and I'm waiting for that, bad things come in threes. So I'm waiting for what the third one is going to be. And so far they've been spaced about a week apart, and it's been almost a week since the last one. So I'm just like anticipating what the next injury is going to be for me. But no, life's great right now because I'm transitioning out of the military, as you already know, and I'm very excited about what I have next. Our kids are thriving. They're healthy. They're everything we could ask for. They're happy. We're getting to spend more time with them now that we're getting out, me and my husband both. And then my husband, he's just thriving at life. He's kicking life in the ass, and he's doing awesome at all of his business endeavors. And, you know, what makes them happy makes me happy. So I could not ask for a better situation right now.
I love that. That's a great response. I got to tell you this quick story about your husband real quick. So obviously I met him
Okay.
at Mick, and
Yeah.
you know he's a monster. So I went up to him, and I'm not. I'm 5'8", you know, about 190. And I said, "Hey man, are you nervous meeting me? Do you feel intimidated?" Anyway, it was just
And he probably said, yeah, or something funny, I would
it
guess.
caught him off guard because I completely went cold turkey, you know, and everyone of course
Yeah.
is trying to talk to him, but um
Yeah.
anyway, so you talked about you have exciting things coming up. Are you able to talk about
Yeah.
yeah, some of those things, some of those projects?
Yeah, absolutely. For starters, you know, I was really, you know, I think we touched on it a little bit at the MIC, and then I was listening to a little bit of some of your podcasts too. And
Thanks.
I think most notable for people transitioning and realizing they're going to be getting out, retiring, med boarding, what have you, is that like kind of identity crisis and like midlife crisis, you know, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? I've served decades, you know, quarter of a century in the military, and that's
Jeez.
been my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, quarter of a century.
I
And
know it's crazy to think about it. Like I didn't serve
yeah,
quite as long as you, but roughly. But it's crazy to think about it like that. But you're
yeah,
right.
yeah. It's like it's and then if you think about in terms of our age, like, you know, relative to how long we've been alive, that's like half of your life. And so to say that you're gonna stop that in a 6 to 12 month period and just like go do I don't know what next, that's like kind of a shock to the system, the mind, whatever. And so for a while after I realized, yeah, I'm going to have to med board, and okay, I that was tough to grasp because I said, oh, how am I going to be relevant if I'm not like if I don't have a clearance and if I'm not part of current ops? Like, you know, how does life even exist without any of those things? And the longer it's taken me through the med board process, and the more exposure that I've had to programs like Honor Foundation, and you know, the more time I've had to explore volunteerism that I've wanted to do for so long but just never had the time, the more I realize that there is 100% a world outside the military,
Yeah.
and it's actually more vast than you would ever think. And there are so many more opportunities, especially if you've been in the military. You just have to know how to find those opportunities and leverage them for everything they're worth. So, with that said, some of the opportunities that I've kind of come across, you know, one, I found a great company that I am going to be working with upon my transition, and probably, hopefully, you know, as long as they'll have me, be working for them in a very fulfilling role. And then the other couple things I have to add to my plate, you know, never ending full plate of things that I keep giving myself is I'm volunteering with an organization that helps in disaster relief and recovery, and then they have some special operations initiatives under that, of which I have just become the director. So that was kind of a huge, you know, validation point for me because I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to be nothing when I get out," and it turns out I'm getting out, and I have some things going on. That's very purposeful for me as I navigate my transition. But then the other thing is I'm standing up a nonprofit, which is no small feat. And the only reason I even thought it possible was because I have an amazing group of support by virtue of these ladies that I found, fortunately and unfortunately, at the end of my career. And so they're all badasses. You
Yeah.
know, they're doing badass things on a daily basis, despite a lot of challenges that life has thrown at them, but they continue to persist and just like totally kick ass every day at life. And so we've all come to like support one another. And then our group has kind of come in demand for like a mentorship and like life coaching and curriculum development for women. And so we've kind of taken that demand and we're mobilizing it into a nonprofit.
That's really cool. Um, you know, you talked about identity crisis because I'm guessing we're
Yeah.
roughly the same age, right?
Yeah.
And
27.
27, that's right. It's the
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
It's the hair, Tony.
Yeah.
Like
It's there.
it's the
100%.
hair.
The brushed
um,
hair.
the first, I think identity crisis is a big thing because I found that. Have you gone through TAP at all?
No, and if I can avoid it, I'm going to. I don't care what the policy
Yeah,
says.
yeah. So I went, but at least for the Air Force, I went to traditional TAP, and then there's a separate one for E9s and O6s called executive TAP, right? So I went to,
Awesome.
yeah, and that was really cool because everyone's, it's and I went to that one. We're all in civilian clothes, and there was probably 30 to 40 people in this.
Nice.
And we all have the nameplates, and there's no rank. It's Tony, it's Martin, right? It's whoever. Um, but we all had to go, and like the reason I'm bringing this up because you said identity crisis, and I think that's spot on. And I'm gonna have a follow up question here in a minute, but we're all going around the room. The instructor's like, "Hey, everyone, get up. Just give a 10-second intro. Your first name, and where do you want to retire out of?" Right? So it'd be like, "Hey, my name's Tony. I want to retire out of Nashville. My name's Martin. I'm out of
Yeah.
Dayton, Ohio. Whatever." Right? We're not using rank. So two people specifically. One guy, and it was a 5-day course for this iteration. One guy shows up in his like uniform with his
Oh
rank.
boy.
And it's just like, it's like everyone else is in business casual, and in Dayton, there's a lot of industry here. So the
Mm.
facilitators did a great job of bringing in like CEOs for local hospitals for interviews and just stuff outside of the military, right? It was great. But this guy, and he's doing his intro, and of course he's talking about his position and all that. It was just like, come on, man. And then someone else did their intro. They proceeded, even though he was in civilian clothes, he gave his rank. Like, that's how he opened up,
Mm.
was, "I'm rank
Yeah.
so and so," and then he talked about he gave his bio, like, "I've done this in my career," and I'm just like,
Mm.
and at first I was pissed off, then I was thinking, man, I actually felt sorry for them because those are the people I think are gonna
Yeah.
struggle the most, right?
They
Where
will.
yeah. Um, but so for you, I guess everything that you had going on, and that you're gonna be, transitioning soon. When did you
Yep.
kind of have like that mental switch? And to follow on to that, I like that you talked about the female support network, because what are the challenges you think that female veterans, especially ones that have been serving for 25 years or over 20 years, some of the additional challenges you think they face?
I'll take that question first. What do you mean they face in or outside of the military?
Outside, just because
Outside.
it's, yeah, outside, or as they are transitioning, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave it at that because I don't want to frame your answer.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I'll take both of them now. I took notes. So, the mental switch for me kind of happened as I forced myself to stop going into work, despite the fact that my command was telling me, "Hey, like we recognize that you." So, let me back up. I am med boarding because I have a very anomalous eye condition that 50% of the specialists I've seen have told me I will go blind, and there's nothing they can do about it. They don't know when. They just know that it's progressing, and uh, I will go blind with certainty. And then another 50% of them or less were like, we have no idea what this is. So we're just going to go ahead and say you're probably fine. And if it gets worse in a year, come back. And I said, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. So that was happening to me. That started in 2022. Since then, I've been trying to get a solid diagnosis. So for the first year and a half of that happening, like I was keeping my command informed and telling them, like, hey, like I can't really drive at night anymore. So, and I also can't, do X, Y, or Z, and I have to get a diagnosis so I know how to treat this so I don't go blind. And I was still going to work, and during the midst of all this, I realized I wanted to. I was going to be probably retiring because I'm a sergeant major, and to stay operational, that's not really a thing. And I've been able to be operational as a sergeant major since I made the list in 2017. So I said, okay, it's probably not fair to other people who want to get promoted and be an actual, like, in charge of a battalion or something like that. I'm taking a spot from them. And every year we have to advocate twice to stay in my current role operationally, to both the USASOC sergeant majors and the big Army slating. So
Sorry,
that
real quick,
was,
you have to justify to stay in the current position, like a
well, yeah, because it's not a traditional role. when you become an E9, a sergeant major, the Army wants you to be in an E9 billet. And
Mm.
I basically have petitioned every year since I made the list, which is the year I should have went and held an E9 billet, to stay operational in the unit that I am currently in. So they've enabled me to do that since then. But, after, like almost 10 years of doing that, I said, okay, I probably need to move
Yeah.
on out if I'm not going to go hold one of those positions. But then while I made that decision, then this I thing surfaced, and then my advisors were telling me, "Well, you need to put in for a med board because this is 100% a med boardable issue." So I put in for a med board, and I was still going, to work long days. My command was telling me, "Yeah, we want you to take the time to not go blind," and I was like, "No, no, I got this." So finally, it was getting so bad where I stopped being able to drive at night. One of my sons was about, let's see, he would have been about 1.5 at the time, almost 2. And he was standing right in front of me, choking. And I couldn't even tell because I couldn't see his face. The only indicator was that I couldn't hear him making noises anymore. And then so I went up to him and I was like, oh my God, he's choking, and I smacked him on the back and he was fine.
Yeah.
But so I said, oh my gosh, okay, this is getting pretty bad. I probably need to focus on my eyes. So I started focusing on that. I did a changeover from the position I was in to my incoming, replacement. And then I said, okay, guys, from here on out, I'm going to be focused on my vision and salvaging whatever vision is left. And so in that process, I'm going to all these appointments, all over the U.S. A really great organization, Task Force Dagger, helped to support me going to all these like extra TRICARE appointments because TRICARE won't cover the diagnosis for my vision, life, limb, or eyesight. I guess only in words and not in practice do we really observe that. But so Task Force Dagger was paying for me to go all around the country to try to get a diagnosis and a treatment. And during that time, I started doing a little bit more, just like self-discovery, more self-improvement, like, okay, let me hurry up and read everything I can and attain all these new skills I can before I possibly can't read anymore. Or I need my eyes for a lot of things. And I'm like, well, how am I going to be value added to the next chapter of my life? How am I going to support my family if I can't freaking see? So I was focusing on that, spending a lot of time away from the Army, more time with a lot of civilians and a lot of really good civilians, just exploring like what that is like. And I said, I don't know that the switch flipped just like that. I think it was very gradual for me. And the more time I spend with all these places, people, and just self-discovery, I realized, oh my gosh, I am total value added outside of the military, but also outside of the military is total value added to me in my life. There's so many resources out there and groups and careers that exist that are good for me. And I was satisfied with that, once I made that realization. So yeah, the switch for me was more gradual. And then I wouldn't say that there are challenges that are specific to female veterans upon transition or even in the military. I would say that resilience is what makes you easy to assimilate to the civilian life. So, now, does some of that resilience come with having been a female in a male dominated field? Probably. Is some of that resilience also from self-imposed mistakes and decisions? Also, definitely. So I would say that my adjustment to civilian life is going to come with strengths that I've gotten from having to be resilient, regardless of what that's from. And I think, having to have been very flexible my entire career because I've been in a lot of very different environments, that is also a huge contributing factor to how I'm going to do outside the military. Well, how I'm actually doing right now, in my opinion. I think I'm doing pretty well. And I think I'm also competitive on the civilian market because of those attributes that I've attained from my time in the service.
Yeah, 100%. About your eye condition,
Yep.
was there something that caused it or that you can pinpoint when, like, that happened to it or an event? or is it just like, hey, my eyes started going blurry, or what were some, I guess, some of the symptoms?
So I have a very strong theory for what I think is the cause. So what happened was I got back from a deployment in 2022, March of 2022, and about a month after I got home, I woke up one morning with bilateral, very symmetrical blind spots in my eyes. And initially, I had thought I might have just stared at my phone too long going to sleep. Don't tell my husband, please. He or that it was like the TV. And so, after rubbing my eyes a couple times, and then like being up for a little bit over an hour, and the spots persisting, I said, "Oh my gosh, this is probably worse than just blind spots from my screen." And so I said, okay, the only thing I know that could cause bilateral, very symmetrical blind spots would be something on maybe my optic nerve or my brain, something that controls both eyes from a central point. So I said, okay, I'm going to give it 24 hours. If after 24 hours it does not go away, I'm going to go to the ER to rule out any life-threatening conditions. So I waited 24 hours. It did not go away. I took myself to the ER, and they're like, yeah, you don't, they did a brain scan, and they said, well, yeah, you don't have anything going on in your head. Oh, that didn't sound good at all. There's nothing mental.
I got you.
There's
Yeah.
we don't see anything in the, concerning in the brain scan, but like you definitely need to go see an ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
So I went and got referred to ophthalmology. The ophthalmologist on post saw me about 3 or 4 times, every time getting more flabbergasted than the last time. And then the last time I saw them, they said, okay, we literally don't know what to do with you. Like the only time we've ever seen anything similar, it was in a 25-year-old alpha male infantryman. He's like, besides 25-year-old, none of that else, like nothing else of that jives with you. Kidding. None of it jives with you. And so we're going to refer you. So then they referred me to another place in Nashville. The Nashville place was very like nonchalant about it. I was by far the youngest person there. Everyone else was like in their 80s and probably expectant for eye conditions, like that's normal for them. So I don't feel like they treated me with enough urgency that I expected. And so I asked to be referred from them to somewhere else. The next place I was referred to was Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt, I went for one appointment, and they said, they looked at me for about 5 minutes. They then left the room, came back in with the doctor in charge, like 2 other practitioners, like a ophthalmologist, a gene counselor, a therapist, like 2 other like student nurses or whatever. There was like 8 people they brought in to break this news to me. And they're like, yeah, sorry, we don't know what to tell you, but you're going to go blind. We don't know when, nothing we can do about it, but like we're Vanderbilt. And if there's any proof of concept or trial that comes up for this, like what we think you have, we'll be the first ones to know about it. And I told them that what they thought my condition was, I was already tested for. It was like some genetic condition, and that I didn't have that. And they're like, no, like we're Vanderbilt. We know what we're talking about. You don't have, or you have that. We're sure you have that. And I said, no, I have the testing. I do not have that. And they're like, well, no, like you're going to go blind. And that was it. So I said, okay, fine. So then I told my primary care, I was like, Vanderbilt is not listening to me. Like they think because they're Vanderbilt, they know better than me. And I'm like, send me somewhere else. Like I'm losing vision as this is happening. I don't have time. So then they sent me, wanted to put me in for the best retina specialist in the United States, which happened to be in Miami, Bascom Palmer. And it took my primary care about 6 months or more to get TRICARE to just approve 2 visits. So basically an intake and then a little bit of diagnosis and then reading of the diagnoses in a follow-up visit, but no travel, nothing like that, just covering the visits. And I said, okay, cool, I'll take it. So I go down to Miami for my first appointment, and they're supposed to be the best. They're supposed to have seen everything, which they have. And I get down there and they're more flabbergasted than all the other teams because they've seen it all. And they look at mine and they're like, we have never seen this before. And I said, perfect, great. So what do we do about it? They're like, all right, well, we'll follow up and what have you. So I'm getting ready to go to my follow-up appointment. Oh, by the way, though, so Task Force Dagger is helping me cover the travel costs associated with
I
all
was going to
this.
ask, did you have to pay out of
The Army
travel?
won't pay.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Thankfully for Task Force Dagger and Care Coalition are the two that helped me pay for a lot of this. Otherwise, we would have paid tens of thousands for all the treatments and things that these benevolent organizations helped us with. So I'm on my way down to the second appointment with them. And as I'm boarding my flight, I get a phone call from the clinic saying, we had to cancel your appointment because TRICARE just authorized your visit. And I was like, what? So now they won't even pay for the visit and I'm getting on a plane. I said, okay, well, if I come, can I still pay for the appointment? Because I'm literally boarding the plane right now. And they said, well, no, we already canceled it and it's already full. And the next available isn't for like 2 more months because it's a really good clinic for retina specialties.
I mean, this sounds like the spot, right? Like this sounds like the.
Yeah. So after that, I started going back to another place in Nashville. They don't have 100% certainty on the diagnosis, but they're calling it central serous retinopathy, which is, if you look at all the research and according to every retina specialist that I've spoken with, it's a condition rooted in high prolonged stress and or PTSD. So it's basically your body's way of telling you, like there's too much going on in your, sympathetic nervous system, and this is its way of telling you, like, slow down and take a break. The problem is, I think I waited too long to slow down and take that break. So now the damage, and I'm not saying, with certainty that this is what it is. This is what I firmly believe, though. The damage that's been done, even if we were to say, hey, here's a treatment right now to stop this thing from progressing, that could be true, but the damage that's already been done to my vision is permanent. So I have like fluid pockets in my eyes. And as those pockets dissolve or move, where they previously were forms scar tissue in your retinas, which is irreparable. So that's like the vision I have right now is the best it will ever be. Like, hopefully it never gets worse, but there's no telling, if it will or not. So,
Man, so because there's days I feel like all of a sudden I can't see out of my eyes, or like it'll be kind of blurry, especially when I wake up. So I've always been very like stressed out about my eyes,
yeah. Eat your carrots.
Eat your carrots.
You gotta eat some carrots.
Toni, thanks so much for sharing that. Like, I don't know if you've shared that story with a whole lot of people, but thank you just for opening up. And yeah, that was really good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, hopefully I do tell a lot of people, because I want people to realize that you should not, I don't want to say should, but in my opinion, it is not good to neglect your own well-being just for the sake of the mission or whatever. Like it's not good, because it can result in, possibly going blind or worse. So yeah, I talk about it a lot because, one, I'm seeking education on it so I can see if there's a possible solution. But then two, I'm hoping, to share with others my lessons learned from neglecting your own well-being.
Yeah, and I mean, you're passing the torch, right? I mean, you're taking your past influences or experiences to help shape those around you. No, I think, man, wow, that's a crazy story. It's part of the reason one of the main reasons why I retired was just I felt like I just for my own health, and and I'm like, what's the end game here? Like, what's the goal, right? And I didn't have I haven't shared this a whole lot in my podcast. Some people know because they personally know me, but so I retired as an E9, a Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, right? But my goal was never to be. I was a chief for over 3 years. I'm like, that's good. Like and I could have stayed in. More stress, and I'm like, okay, like what's the end goal here? I don't desire to be Chief Master in the Air Force, but what was your background in the Army? Your actual job? Is it? Are you okay saying what that was? Like your actual?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I initially joined as a mechanic. I went in and told my recruiter that I wanted to build hot rods, muscle cars, And they're like, oh, we have the perfect job for you, heavy wheel vehicle mechanic. I said, ooh, that sounds exactly what I'm looking for. And so I went to my first AIT. And when I left there, I didn't even know how to change engine oil, barely. And I was originally also in the reserves because I was mortified of if I would even make it through basic training because I had a little attitude and I was kind of like a troublemaker and I was in and out of, stuff before I joined the army. So I said, okay, let me go like kind of halftime because I'm not sure if I'm going to even make it. And so it was funny because when I went to basic and I actually had like somebody forcing a sense of purpose on me and the structure that I probably could have used, well before that, I actually did very well. And I was, I said, okay, like with a little bit of this, I can probably turn my life around. And so, after I did AIT, advanced individual training, and I got back to my reserve unit, and they were kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. The uniforms were like a Polaris jacket and then like the army pants, like the BDUs. At the time it was BDUs. Yes, I'm old. And that just like wasn't cutting it for me. And then also like all the guys in the unit were shade tree or actual mechanics in their day jobs. They didn't really want to drag me along to teach me very basic stuff that they already knew, and they just wanted to get the jobs done, and I wanted to learn. So I was like, all right, this isn't cutting it for me. The army is cutting it for me. I think I want to do it full time, and I want to do it like 120%, but I don't want to be a mechanic. And no knock against mechanics. Like I really would love to actually still be a mechanic. I would love to build my own car.
Yeah.
But I said, if I'm going to go active duty, I'm going to have the most challenging things, in my contract that I can get. So I was like, I want a challenging job. I want to learn a language. I want airborne, like I wanted all the things, everything that said, challenge me. And so I went to my recruiter with that. They said, well, the only military occupational specialty that exists out there that guarantees airborne language is psychological operations. To hold that MOS, you have to be airborne and language qualified. So I said, yes, sign me up. I just watched The General's Daughter. It looks super cool and I want all those things. So sign me up, please. And so that's the job I took. I went active duty and I changed my job from mechanic to psychological operations. And, at the time, I didn't even know what special operations was. I didn't even know that that job was part of special operations. And then once I got there and I started, onboarding and learning about it, I said, holy shit, this is like way cooler than I thought I was signing up for, but also everything I asked for.
Nice.
And so that is what I did for the rest of my career.
So I have a question, and it's a melting pot based on a lot of different things I've researched about you. So you done,
Got
yeah, psychological operations in the army.
it. Yeah.
I'm tracking that you speak 5 languages, if I'm not mistaken. Is that at least to some extent, right?
Yeah. So, and that's obviously I don't maintain those languages, but I've had professional academic study and practice, on the streets with all of those languages. And if I were told, hey, freshen up on Farsi, you're going to, Iran, then I say, okay, let's give me a month and I'll
Yeah,
be like almost conversational.
like I said, on the streets. I was out in the streets, from the streets,
Yeah,
and
the streets of Iran.
yeah, streets. All right, so psyops, languages. I've also heard your husband talk about you in various podcasts. Where that's actually where I probably I've learned the most about you was him talking about you in
Huh.
podcasts. So, and that's something else I do, right? If I know, I'll listen to people, and they'll reference other people, and I kind of take notes of that. But I've heard him say that you're a musician and an artist, and then also
Hmm.
just we talked about you being from Milwaukee. So again, your job in the army, languages, musician, artist, being from Milwaukee. How do all those worlds connect for you?
Dude, that's a great question. Honestly, I think my upbringing, and so we grew up, I'd say okay. Like we started off on the south side of Milwaukee growing up, and we were, my family was, we were poor, and we lived in it was a duplex that was turned into like a triplex. So they had put people in the basement, the middle floor, and like the top floor. That kind of made me appreciate a lot that we have now, like looking at how we live and the things that we can offer our children. But then also, what I got from the South Side was that's actually where I learned Spanish. It's a very heavy Latin population where I grew up initially.
In Milwaukee,
Um,
really?
yep.
Wow.
And I learned to dance salsa there,
No
cumbia,
kidding.
bachata, like all the dances. Oh, yeah, that was like big on the scene there. And then, oh, and then I went to school though on the north side, and that was a whole another experience. And I also have a huge family. I have about 30 cousins on my dad's side alone. You know, we're a big Italian family, so we have that aspect of culture. That's why I'm talking with my hands all the
Yeah.
time. And and then what we got from that too, though, I think with my dad's side of the family and all my cousins, I was listening to one of your the podcast you released today, and you're talking about like the comfortability with people and rapport and things like that. And something that's kind of like inherent to our family that I never realized, and then finally I put it into words one day, is that like we give everybody a nickname, and it might be funny, it might seem insulting, but you don't get a nickname if we don't like love and accept you. So like a nickname is totally a badge of honor in our family. And so yeah, I kind of bring that rapport and definitely extroverted introvert part of that to my life. And that's what I take from Milwaukee. And then also the just unique cultures there, like big cheese culture, cheese and
Yeah.
beer, and definitely blue collar town. I've been working as far as I can remember all kinds of jobs. I worked construction when I was old enough. I think the minimum age they would require was like 17 to do this major construction project there. So I did that before I joined the army. I also worked at a trucking company. I wanted to drive trucks as far as I can remember, and then I just couldn't save the money to get my CDL, so I kind of skipped that. I did all kinds of things there that I carry with me now. And then the art stuff, that I've always been kind of a left brainer, always into art. As far as I can remember, I could see something and just draw it or create from it. Um, and then the same thing with music. When I was 4, my mom had gotten a gag gift for her birthday, which was like a mini keyboard because she loved Elton John, and she never touched it, but it was a toy to me. So I played, I would play with it. And then one day I just played a song. I think it was an Elton John song. I mean, of course, not like with all the chords and stuff, but
Yeah.
I played out the melody, and she just about, she freaked out. She was like, oh my gosh. And I was playing by ear at 4 years old. So when they could afford to put me into lessons, my parents put me into piano lessons, and I've played ever since. Um, so yeah, so I got like a million hobbies, definitely a jack of all trades, definitely not a master of any of them. And I think I just take little facets of all those pockets of my life and I incorporate them into everything that I do now.
I actually had that in my notes, is that you played piano.
Really?
Yeah, I have my so for no, I have a Word document, and it just has notes about guests, and it's usually just like quick
Nice.
bullet points, um, like stuff that. But anyway, one of them was that originally from Milwaukee, plays
Mhm.
piano, and then have some other random things about you, but uh, so
I hope that one of the notes you picked up from Nick and his podcast and talking about me is how organized my side of the closet is.
no, I don't have that, but it's fun. I'm gonna
Oh, darn it.
don't uh I'll bring that up because I'm scheduled to talk with him. I think on December 9th is when we're scheduled. So I'll
Oh yeah,
it,
ask that and my ability to destroy a hotel room upon check-in.
that's upon check-in.
Upon check-in, the hotel room does not stand a chance against me. I'm sorry.
Hey, I got a couple quick callbacks, references to some previous things you talked about. One, just as a quick, like, just throwing some shade at Vanderbilt. When you were there and they gave you news you didn't like, you should have been like, "That's why your team sucks and finishes last in the SEC every year." Uh,
I wish I knew enough about college
I,
sports to have said that because I
yeah,
absolutely would have done it.
yeah, yeah. What are you guys 0-12 this year? And then
Yeah.
the next time you go to Milwaukee, and I don't know if you ever go back there or not, you should 100% go to that the bronze fawn
The
statue.
phones?
Yeah, and then salsa dance with Nick in front of that statue. That would get
Oh,
millions and millions of views. I'm joking, but
he
uh,
will throw my ass in the river if I no, he will not.
do you think he
I
could
will
pick
go
you up? I don't know if he has the strength. I don't know. I'm joking.
yeah, I probably like double his size, but I think he can almost like bench his body weight. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. uh, uh, oh, and that's something you should add to your LinkedIn bio is great at brushing hair. Your hair looks great.
Yes.
And then
Oh,
two,
oh,
can wreck at a hotel room upon check-in.
upon chicken.
Yeah, that's fun facts about you. So something else that I do is I'll reach out to people that know. This is one of my tricks, and I haven't shared this with anyone, so I'm sharing it with you for whatever reason. I feel just a good connection. But when I'm researching, I'll reach out to someone and say, "Hey, I'm interviewing this person. What's something I can ask them that I can't Google?"
Hmm.
So when I had Denny on, because Denny and I had it seemed like a good rapport. So I was like, "Hey, man, Nick's going to be on my show. What's something?" Because he's to the point now where there's a lot of information you can find about Nick. But I was like, "What's something I can't Google?" Or that I could. He said,
Yeah.
"Ask him about." I guess there was something on Google. If you search for Nick's name, Denny's picture would pop up, and it's like a
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, he looks like him in some pictures. It's so scary.
Yeah, we were talking about that because I said, "Hey, man," I said, "Has anyone told you look like Nick?" And that's what
Yeah.
led to that. And then something else. I'm going to cut this part out too. Is you want to hear something eerie? So I read Nick's book about a month ago, and then I
Yeah.
messaged Paul Newt on Instagram, and I said,
Stop.
"Yeah." And like 2 days later, he died, and I was like, I'm getting goosebumps right
Yeah.
now, and I'm just like, I was like, oh my god, man, it's crazy how the world works, like how. Man, I hope I didn't bring up any like hard, like we're like bad feelings or anything. Like it was just,
Oh no. I mean, yeah, it was so sad. When I, it's heartbreaking when my first injury happened in my series of injuries. So we are filming. Oh, let me back up. So this group of ladies I have that I get to call my friends. We're starting a nonprofit called Fox Force. Okay, and we're launching the nonprofit with an first all women's jump into Normandy for D-Day in June of 2026.
oh,
And yeah, it's
that
going to
is
be so
cool.
freaking awesome. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I jumped into Normandy last June or this past June for D-Day, and it was like life changing. And I realized like, okay, I was the only chick in my
Yeah,
stick who landed. And once I came across like off the drop zone and everybody's standing there watching the jumps, they all like rushed to me, and I couldn't figure out why because I'm nobody. Like nobody knows who I am. And then I realized, oh yeah, I'm the only girl here. And so there are people like throwing babies at me. I'm like, dude, your baby's like 2 months old. I'm a stranger. Like, why are you putting your baby in my arms? But okay. And so we're like taking pictures, whatever. And I said, oh, it's because I'm a woman. And then thinking about it, it's like, well, Normandy is very rural and they probably need to see more women doing stuff like this. So I said,
yeah,
oh, me and my friends should jump into Normandy next D-Day with like all women. That would be totally cool. Totally something the young girls there need to see
hundred
and what
percent.
have you. Yeah. So then I said, okay, long
God,
story
that's
longer.
awesome. That is so awesome.
Yeah, I reached out to Warrior Rising, the
Yeah, yeah.
nonprofit who hosted the jump that we did this year. And I said, hey guys, I have this idea. I want to do it. Will
That's
you help me
Benjamin Bunn,
fundraise?
right? Or is that Benjamin Bunn, or who's what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Benjamin Bunn. Uh, Jesus, I'm drawing a blank.
Sorry.
Casey Maxted,
Yeah.
Jason Van Camp,
Jason B. Camp.
all
So I
those
was
guys.
thinking, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're such amazing people, and Nick's been working with them for a long time. And then I did the jump with them this year, and I had this idea. I pitched it to them, and they're like, 100% will support you. And so they're helping us fundraise for it. But the point is, so we're doing all that to do this jump to launch our nonprofit. And in order to start the fundraising, we're filming some hero videos. And I said, oh my gosh, we have a C-130 in our footprint at my unit. And that would be a perfect backdrop to film, talking about these amazing ladies. And so we filmed it there October 30th. And as I was closing down the C-130, you close the door from the
Yeah, yeah.
inside, pull it down, the paratrooper door. And one of the ladies that was there with me filming it was trying to help me from the outside because it was stuck. It was like jammed up because it was really old and waterlogged. And finally, we got it to release as she was like jumping up to help pull it down, and my knee was inside the door.
Ooh.
And I didn't know she was doing that, so it came down on my knee and split my knee open.
Oh.
But so I had to go to the ER. I was at the ER all day, like maybe 6 hours. Nick came to pick me up, and he came, stayed in the ER with me, and then we are driving home from that traumatic day, and then he gets a call from Katie Newt, and she like never calls, right? And we were talking about my injury and stuff like that, and he was like thinking about answer not, and I was like, no, it's Katie Newt. I'm looking at the time of day. I was like, dude, something has to be wrong. You have to answer it. And so he did. And she was like, it was like she was hysterical. And the first words out of her mouth was like, Paul just died. And, thinking back on it, and she was still at the hospital, and neither one of us could really like collect our thoughts. It felt like it took forever, but it was probably like 10 seconds where he's like, all right, is somebody with you? Where's Braddock? Like, that's their son.
And
He's
this is
8, just like
unexpected. Was this his passing? Was it unexpected?
yeah, he had a heart attack while working out at his gym, and the paramedics couldn't get there in time to revive or to give him CPR and resuscitate him. And so he had gone too long without oxygen to his brain, and he ended up passing. Um, but yeah, so that happened the same day as my injury. So that's very ironic that you would have messaged him 2 days before that too, and then he also
Yeah,
died that same
because I
couple
saw
days
Nick's
later.
post. Hey, I'm gonna cut all this out. Thanks for sharing. I wasn't like that was my intent. I just, man,
No, it's fine.
yeah. But the Fox Force, that is an amazing concept, and whatever I can do to help support that, just let me know. Like I definitely
Yeah,
want to like highlight and showcase that because I think we need that. Like young people need to see that. It's
yeah, I do.
yeah. Um,
I do. We have a lot of sorry to keep talking about it, but like just we have women in the group who just, there's one, she has two terminally ill kids. She fought to be in SWAT, and her husband's in special forces. And so when their children got to a point where they're like, hey, one of you needs to be with them 24/7, the person who, could give up their career more easily was her. So she gave up her career to take care of their two terminally ill kids so that her husband could stay in the military. And despite that, she volunteers more than like a full time job.
yeah,
She's given more than she will ever expect to receive. She's one of the reasons I'm like, all right, I want you guys to do this to show like what amazing, like how resilient women actually are.
yeah,
Like, I'm not saying like I am woman, hear me roar, we're so much better than men. Like that's not what this is. It's like I think young ladies need examples like this to show that they're not victims, that they are, they bring their own strengths to the table that should be leveraged and highlighted and honed to, contribute to the bigger picture of like a thriving society. And so I just want to highlight people like her, but then
y-
also, I don't want her to have to pay for that. So we're going to be fundraising to do that.
that's really cool. Yeah, let me, like I said, let me know what I can do to help support you guys and support, promote,
Absolutely.
whatever. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to get back to some questions. So,
Okay.
going, do you see any overlap between influencing minds through psyop, expressing emotion through music and art, and communicating across cultures?
Hmm. That's a little bit. To understand how to influence people, when we're talking about psyop anyways, you have to get into their minds. So, and what I mean by that is you have to with every ounce of effort, get their perspective. You have to try to put yourself in the shoes and minds of others. And part of being able to do that is definitely empathy. Also also like social intelligence
Yeah.
and things like that. And I think a big part of being able to do that, especially the empathy part,
Yeah.
is humility. So you have to be able to humble yourself to say, you know what, I can take my ego out of this and try to see it from the other side or from someone else's shoes. Let me try to relate to them at their level so that I can also use that against them for the purpose of my own, government initiatives. Not, not really, but kind of. But that also translates to, the civilian market. Like, if you want to be an effective leader, communicator, business developer, whatever, if you want to try to raise $200,000 for some girls to jump out of a plane, you have to have some relatability and understand what type of message is going to resonate with your audience. So that's largely translatable in the civilian sector. And then the music and the art aspect, I think that I wouldn't say that those specifically help me, but the personality trait that makes me attracted to art and music, creativity and things like that, and also like expression, those I think are the traits that actually translate Vice being able to play the piano or paint, a 6-foot painting or what have you. I think
Yeah.
it's the like inherent characteristics that actually carry forward.
Do you have time for a few more questions? There's I have some
Yeah.
perfect because like this is uh you are doing phenomenal, by the way. I know you said you haven't done a whole lot of podcasts. Like you are in like I felt
Oh,
you seem very experienced for someone who's never done podcasts before. So
I listen to Nick a lot, and I've stepped on my crank enough a lot too. So like I think I've kind of learned to temper and also articulate. Like I am doing my best to get rid of my Wisconsin accent, and I think you can't really tell I have
no,
one, but you tell me.
no.
Part of that has come with just trying to articulate words and enunciate them the way that they're supposed to be pronounced, so that you don't hear, my normal when I let myself slip and say weird things.
I'm originally from
But thank
Oklahoma.
you.
Yeah, yes, no, of course. So I can relate. I'm originally from Oklahoma, so there's times I have to catch myself with certain sayings and
Oh yeah,
slang. Yeah.
yeah, I believe that.
Um, and I appreciate what you said earlier. You said you've been listening to some of my podcasts. Like that means a lot. So every one download, every one play, or whatever the stat is, different podcast agencies call them different things, but it means a lot. So I
Hmm.
appreciate that. That helps out tremendously.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love what you're doing, and you did a really good job. Like I love the site and all the links. It looks real clean and nice.
Thank you. Yeah, that's probably the best. Thank you for that compliment because I spend so much time on that. And
I can tell.
yeah, thank you for that. I really like. We're talking 2 o'clock in the morning type stuff, and I'm just
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah. Very welcome.
uh, man, lost my train of thought. Thank you. That really made my day. I have
Yeah. Good.
one last question about Psyop. How would you describe Psyop beyond the Hollywood version? Because we know Hollywood likes to play things up. Um,
Yeah. I would say um, from Hollywood. Actually, the only movie I've ever really seen it in was The General's Daughter, and they didn't even go into what it was. They just said that she was a PSYOP captain or something. But I don't know. I'm sure that in other Hollywood references, it's very dramatized, which they have to do, right, with their dramatic licensing and to get people to watch because, nothing holds our attention anymore. But I would say that it's not it's not anything. It's cool, right? I don't know if you're attracted, go see a recruiter. It's for but it's not. It's to me, it's like common sense. It's like just understanding people and understanding them to the point where you can take where they're baselined at and kind of use that along with some other key factors and then sway them to do a thing. And that thing can be as small as supporting their local government, or that thing can also be getting a bad guy to kill a bad guy.
Yeah.
So, and it's just with words and thoughts. So, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
Love that. I want to transition to some lighter topics, miscellaneous. There's no rhyme or reason. These are just kind of. I spent a lot of time thinking up questions too.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So the first one is I call it a name game. Usually I have 3 names, but I'm just gonna say one name, and whatever you want to say about this person. Hopefully it's all positive because I think it's a positive name in your life from what I picked up. But when I say the name
Okay.
Mike Stone, what comes to mind?
Wait, how do you know Mike Stone?
I don't know the people. I just like when I research
Oh,
or
yeah.
I think I might have saw you on a LinkedIn post commenting on someone else about him saying he was the best officer I ever worked with or something to that extent. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And by the way, when so I just had a guy named Scott Stalker on my podcast. He's a retired
Yeah.
Marine. Are you familiar with him by chance?
No.
Anyway, but
Mm-mm.
he's a long decorated career, 30 years, right? Done a lot of things in the military. He was on my podcast on October 7th, but I was asking him
Oh.
questions and he was like, how did you know? It was a 2-hour conversation. It felt like 10 minutes, but he was like, how did you know this? Right. And he just had a book come out. So we were
Yeah.
talking about his book. I said, well, I've been researching for about 2 years. Not that I've been like, it was just, I knew 2 years ago I wanted to have him on my podcast, but I was just kind of waiting for the right time. And then when I heard he was having a book coming out, I'm like, great, I'll wait for the book come out. I'll read the book, have him on, that sort of thing. But I had all these
Yeah.
random notes, and that's what I do for people. Like I knew, so when I met you at Mick, I was like, man, I want to get Toni on my podcast. So I think we connected on LinkedIn right that day, or maybe shortly after. So I just kind of
Yeah.
take mental notes, or I'll save things that when people post something, and then and that's something I saved. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna ask her about that because I thought it was a very nice post that you said about someone else.
Yeah, he was awesome. He and I worked together early in my career, and in Iraq, I think it was might have been my 3rd trip to Iraq. No, he was just an all-around great officer. You could tell that he was not in it as a careerist. He wasn't like a careerist officer, in which if you've been in the military a day or two, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
He was genuinely concerned for like the welfare of everyone with whom he served. And he also genuinely wanted to know everyone he worked with, right? He considered himself on the same team with all these people, not an echelon above with a bunch of subordinates. Like he, in my opinion, was a true leader. It's refreshing when you get one of those unicorns because they're very few and far between. And so whoever was lucky enough to have him on their team, which I think is what the announcement you're talking about was over,
Mm-hmm.
like they should be lucky to have him.
No, that's a great response, and I appreciate you sharing just your thoughts about him.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. Plus, he played ultimate football like no other. So he was really good. We made a really good team.
No, that's fun. All right, next question is, if you were to give a TED Talk for something that people don't know about you, what would it be about?
What they don't know about me?
Yeah. Or for something you're not really known for.
Oh, well, this is a new favorite of mine because, I turned 40, so suddenly I'm very eco-friendly and I have a green thumb all of a sudden. So what would my TED Talk be about? It would be about my ability to acquire new trees and plants, but also the same ability to then go and kill those same plants and trees. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting better, but I have like well, it's not green yet. It's probably like black turning green thumb. But yeah, I want to be like good at gardening. That's something nobody would ever expect me to say or do, but I love it.
No, that's amazing. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that's something that happens to all of us when we like near 40 or after we turn 40. It's just, man, I have this urge to go to Home Depot and just buy like, potting soil and all this stuff now. And
Yes.
you know, um, no, that's cool. Last couple questions. If there's a giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see, where would you want that billboard to be? And what would you want that billboard to say?
Hmm. Honestly, I wouldn't want to be on a billboard because I don't like my face being out there or my name. So it might be a picture of like me with a like, the digital box over my face. I don't know. And then what would it be about? What would it be advertising?
Or your
It
message?
would probably be, yeah, my message would probably be to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves.
Mm.
So I don't want to say like advocate for the vulnerable. I think that's not fair, but I think like, particularly children, for example, they're not in a position to really advocate for themselves, especially if they're like babies or, even with like domestic violence personnel, they're not always in a position to advocate for themselves either. So I would say, yeah, be an advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves.
That immediately made me think of Denny Jamazo, just with his
Really?
his childhood, right? With the um I don't know how familiar you are with his backstory when he was a little kid and his mom would just leave him
A
for
little bit. Yeah.
yeah. I was like, man, but that's really cool. I like that. All right.
Thanks.
All right. What is one piece of wisdom would you pass on to the next generation of people to help them light their own torch and carry it forward?
Oh, that's a good one because this is something I wish I could have told my younger self. I would tell the next generation of people to find the right support network and cling on to them for everything that you can. And what I mean by that is who wrote the book? It doesn't matter. But there's a book about like leadership and running a company and stuff. And, people oftentimes say people make the company and people make the business, but that's like partially true. What's actually true is that the right people make the business or the company or what have you. And I would directly tie that correlation to life. So the people that you surround yourself with are also directly correlated to your success or lack thereof in life. And I mean success in business, finances, wealth, or I'm sorry, well being, longevity, things like that. Like there are a million studies that show, if you have a strong support network, your chances of outliving your peers is much higher. So, those peers that don't have that strong network.
Yeah.
And also your health and emotional, mental well-being, they're all uh, increase in health for all that stuff. So I'd say find the right people to surround yourself with, and don't ever let them go.
That's a
Have you ever
fantastic.
read The Other Wes Moore? This is not the book it's from, but have you ever read the book The Other Wes Moore?
I've never heard of that book. No, and I read a lot, but I've never heard of that.
It was on my list for a long time because it gives the example. So, is he the governor of Maryland or whatever? Wes Moore, his name is. And
Huh.
he grew up in Baltimore, child of a single mother with a couple siblings, same part of town as another guy named Wes Moore, who also had the same conditions. Son to a single mother, had other siblings, whatever. And so, because of the decisions they made based on who they were surrounded by growing up, one ended up joining the army and becoming the governor, and the other ended up in prison for life with kids, with multiple women, etc. And it's an example. It's a really good true story analogy of how like the choices you make and the people you surround yourself with directly impact life outcomes. Um,
Yeah,
and so yeah, I find
that's a great you're right, 100%. Like that yeah. So I'm from Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I don't know if you ever
yep.
yeah, and there's not much there. So I knew if I would and I
Mm-mm.
yeah, and I was a junior in college when well, I was a sophomore when 9/11 happened. but I was in delayed entry for a year and left my junior year in college. But anyway, but I knew if I would have stayed in Lawton, like there's just nothing there. And like you run into like the
Yeah.
same, there's a ceiling, like you end up, I don't know, just there's no growth and just bad decisions. And yeah, that's I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of that book, and I would sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it was good. It was a quick read, but it was been on my list for a couple of years, and I finally finished it. And it was like I said, it was made all those points, and they're so true because that's like kind of how my life probably would have been had I stayed home, just like what you're talking about. Staying in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Not saying there's not opportunity back home, but I was surrounding myself with people who never wanted to leave, who were happy just going out and finding a reason to drink all the time. A lot of kids that I grew up with, went to high school with, what have you, it felt like almost every year after I left, oh, where's so-and-so? Oh, they're in jail. Oh, where's so-and-so?
Yeah.
Oh, they died of an overdose or whatever. And, that could have been my life had I stayed there and chosen to stay in those circles, that I was in my younger days. And, the Army really changed that for me. And,
yeah. No, and you probably never would have been jumping out of an airplane on Normandy, right? So,
no,
yeah. Last question I have, and this is actually a new tradition I started with my podcast. So I just a few weeks ago I released episode 100, and for the I thought about what can I do for the next 100 episodes to kind of start like a new just something. But I want to start passing the torch between episodes, between guests, to link everyone together. But what's a question or a quote I can ask or leave a future guest with?
Oh, my favorite one. So a question or a quote for me, what I would like to ask, I would ask future guests to describe themselves the way they see themselves. That's what I do. So I'm doing another project too. It's like a history project, and I'm interviewing all these people that made this very cool unit in the Army. And it's a very people-centric unit, right? Based on people-centric work. And so I thought a cool factor would be to highlight the people that made this thing possible. And so I asked them questions about that. But then another thing I asked them is to describe themselves for the audience. And I get some pretty valuable responses.
That's a good one. That's really good. That's a great question.
Yeah. So that's what I would ask them.
What can I do for you? How can I best serve you?
I think you're doing it already. I mean, you're doing this podcast to spread awareness on like leadership and transition, all those things that people need to hear about. So I think what you can do for me, but for everyone, is to keep doing exactly what you're doing. I wouldn't change anything, And then what I can do for you is help to spread awareness about your podcast, because I think it's important.
Thank you. That would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for that, and just for the kind words. Toni, you were an incredible guest. There were so many great snippets. I'm actually going to clip, I forget what I asked. You're like, oh, that's a good question. And then I'm going to post that immediately, probably like in a couple hours, nice. Just to show that you're on my podcast and stuff. But
very cool.
Yeah, just to help. I don't know if it's going to help, but like to at least somewhat. But yeah, thank you. Like I was so excited, super excited about this conversation when I was doing what I can to learn about you. And it was tough, and there's a lot I don't know, right? So you've done an excellent job of, staying private, but just very fascinated, very intrigued by you, your background. And I was looking forward to having this conversation, and you were amazing. You did not disappoint. So just thank you so much for your mentorship, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I'm so happy I didn't totally botch it. So thank you for that too.